how many different types of animals do you have on the farm?
Well, as far as livestock species, there are 10: cows, hogs, sheep, goats, rabbits, chickens, turkeys, geese, guineas, and ducks. But to go a little more broadly, we've got honeybees that we harvest honey from. The microbes in the soil. There's just an endless number of living beings living in symbiotic relationships with each other, and that spins off a bounty. All that coal and oil and natural gas that we've been living on for the last 100 years. Mm-hmm. That was the bounty of nature.
Okay, here I am, super excited. This is going to be one of the greatest talks you've ever heard. We're with a revolutionary guy, Mr. Will Harris, doing regenerative agriculture, taking the horrible feedlot loaded with chemical fertilizer, completely turned it around into the most productive, healthy animals, healthy soil. This is the future of farming. Will, God bless you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on today. I've been looking forward to this.
Man, looking into your history, and I just saw a clip of 1946 where they came into your, I think, grandfather or father,
my dad took over. Yeah, that was my dad.
And brought in some chemical fertilizer, which was just absolutely wonderful. It grew plants, but it destroyed the soil. And you were doing this up until the 90s. What got you to change? That's expensive, hard. I mean, just crazy.
I just went too far down the road. I was a very heavy-handed industrial farmer. And I really was a little bit of an abuser. If the label instruction said to use a pint, I probably used a quart. If it said put out 100 pounds, I probably put out 200 pounds. And because I was so heavy-handed, I think I saw the unintended consequences a lot more clearly than the guys that were playing more by the rules. They were doing damage the same way I was. I was just doing enough damage I could see it. So when I saw it, I didn't want to do it anymore.
Okay, now I did a conference up in North Dakota, talked with the senator up there. And they're doing everything horrible. Monocultures, glyphosates everywhere. The farm manager had cancer, obviously from the glyphosates, all digestive disorders. And I'm talking to the senator and I said, well, you're killing the soil. You're producing a product that's killing people and everything's subsidized. What is it? And he said, there's no plan B. And you did it. You developed this plan B to turn that around.
Yeah, I would say that there is a plan B, but it's very difficult. It takes a long time, and it doesn't necessarily manifest itself in higher profits. When we make business judgments on in any privately owned business or corporation, we're looking for the reward. We're looking for, this will cost me this much, I can expect this much in return. And in the case of rethinking a farm the way we did, there are greater returns, but the greater returns go to cover the unintended consequences that would otherwise go uncovered. For instance, I'm about 80 miles from the Gulf of Mexico. And there's a dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico that's as big as the state of Massachusetts. There used to be a thriving oystering ground. It's a dead zone now because of the chemical fertilizers and pesticides that my dad and I and my friends and neighbors sent down Spring Creek to the Chattahoochee River to Apalachicola to the Gulf of Mexico. So that damage that's been done, destroying that oystering ground, cost, I don't know, millions, maybe billions, I don't know that, just a tremendous amount of money. But those of us who contributed to it won't pay for it. We all pay for it. When we drive species of plants and animals and microbes into extinction or near extinction, and that has a cost, but no individual pays for it. We all pay for it. And I can go on and on with global warming, all these things that we do, that the financial cost of doing it doesn't fall back on those of us who are doing the objectionable action.
But 500 miles either side of the Mississippi, it's called the cancer belt. And the microbes in the soil, that you talk about how you pull a string one way. I mean, nature is completely connected. And what you've done by looking at the soil and growing the soil, you get a diversity, and then the diversity of animals. I mean, you were talking about how the cows have one pest that bug them, but they're not bugged by other pests, and goats are bugged by one pest, and they're not. You have this harmony of soil, harmony of building the bacteria and the molds and funguses and everything. It's just that rich natural life that's sequestering carbon.
Yeah, it's called symbiosis, and one being is better because other beings interact with it. And that's the way it's supposed to be. But in modern agricultural production, we have elected to reduce everything to a monoculture. There's nothing but corn in the cornfield, and nothing but soybeans in the soybean field, and nothing but wheat in the wheat field. If anything else is out there, we will use a side to kill it. Pesticide, homicide. Side means kill. We have herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, nematicides. If you are a farmer, you are in the killing business. I was in the killing business. When I was a monocultural cattle farmer, I went to my pastures every day with the intent of looking for something to kill. There was a plant growing there I didn't want, so I knew the herbicide that would kill it. There was an insect there that I didn't want. I knew the insecticide that would kill it. And the nematicide, on and on. I was looking for something to kill because I was trying to maintain a monoculture. And nature doesn't even recognize monocultures. Nature recognizes many different species of plants and animals and microbes living in symbiotic relationships with each other. And in modern agricultural production, we just decided that was a bad idea. That's not what we're going to do. And it came at a great cost.
And you see the waste products from those CAFOs, the concentrated animal feeding operations, they can't get rid of it. And your animals are eating the grass. They're putting their waste back in the soil. So they're recycling that. They're getting the good microbials down in there. And then the variety of animals. If you could, how many different types of animals do you have on the farm?
Well, as far as livestock species, there are 10: cows, hogs, sheep, goats, rabbits, chickens, turkeys, geese, guineas, and ducks. But to go a little more broadly, we've got honeybees that we harvest honey from. The microbes in the soil. There's just an endless number of living beings living in symbiotic relationships with each other, and that spins off a bounty. All that coal and oil and natural gas that we've been living on for the last 100 years. Mm-hmm. That was the bounty of nature in the era of the dinosaur. That was the excess, the treasure that nature was spinning off during that time of really optimum ecological benefit. And, we have come a long way to the raising monocultures of, again, corn, cotton, peanuts, on and on.
The symbiotic relationship between the different types of animals and how you're moving the chickens and the ducks and the geese in these homes, so they're eating the worms and they're pooping in the soil. But if they stayed in one spot, that poop would be toxic. If it moves, it's nutrients to the soil. Now, this had to have been a trial and error, because there is no books out there, that say, look, if you got so many acres in this area, how did you figure it out?
figure it out is the right word. I farm the same land that my great grandfather and grandfather and father farmed. My great grandfather came to this farm in 1866. And I wish I knew more about that. The Harrises are not necessarily good record keepers, but we do. The family law is that he raised a lot of different species of animals, and they slaughtered them here on the farm every day, 6 days a week before dawn. He and his employees got up and slaughtered something. Might have been a cow, might have been 2 or 3 hogs, might have been 100 chickens, whatever. They slaughtered something, goat, sheep, and an employee would bring it 2 miles up a dirt road on a mule-drawn wagon and peddle the meat in Bluffton. I'm in the middle of Bluffton right now, Bluffton, Georgia. Population 150. And it was bigger back then. It was bigger in 1865 than it is today. But he would peddle the meat. And that's how they made their living. It was a lot of symbiosis because there were a lot of different species living in harmony with each other. My grandfather ran it the same way. My dad took over the farm post World War II. He was born in 1920. He took over the farm in 1946, and he really industrialized the farm. Under his watch, it went from what his dad and granddad had done to being a real monoculture of cattle. And my dad was very successful, and he did the right thing economically when he did that. He was very proud of the fact he was an expert cattleman, whereas his dad and granddad had been jacks of all trade. He ran the farm all his career. I grew up working on the farm for my dad and loved it, and never wanted to do anything but run the farm. I went to the University of Georgia and graduated in 1976 with a degree in animal science, College of Agriculture. Previously, that had been called animal husbandry. It was animal science when I got my degree. That's what it says on my diploma, hanging right there. Previously, it had been animal husbandry. And that signifies a great change. Husbandry is very cyclical. Science is very linear. And there was a conscious decision to change it to science, and it wasn't just the University of Georgia. That's what happened all over the planet, I guess. But I came home and industrially raised cattle just like my dad did. A lot of chemical fertilizer, a lot of pesticides, a lot of hormone implants, a lot of subtherapeutic antibiotics, etc. And I was successful for 20 years in terms of profitability. I made money every year. Didn't make a lot of money, but I never had a loss. I always had a good living. And then I decided to change, and I did. And for the last 25 years, we've been changing.
There's a financial suffrage when you do to change. Because I mean, you got to build the infrastructure. Soil doesn't grow overnight, and then so you got just cows, and then you've got to start to figure out how to build the soil, and what animals will support those cows, and what animals live in harmony with everything. And I doubt if they taught you that.
They did not teach that. They taught the opposite of that. It was about killing something, not about making things thrive. The good news is when I was doing it, I had to figure it out myself because there weren't many people doing it, and those of us that weren't connected. This is before the internet was very common. I got friends now all over the country, not many, but a few that were figuring it out when I was figuring it out. But we didn't know each other. I wish we had. Today, there are, the communications are so much better. You can get online and learn more than you can absorb about any aspect of what we do. And we have schools they can go to here and other places. So there's a lot more information out there. What has not gone away is the financial burden of making the change. It is hard.
Yeah, but when you're doing that, and because now you've got markets that just absolutely brilliant that you're slaughtering, you got a USDA approved facility, So you were, growing the animals, processing the animals, and getting in harmony. That's why, I mean, if everybody watching this, you got to support White Oak Pastures. I mean, that's just bottom line, because you're getting healthy animals, which are going to be high in omega-3s. It's going to be a healthy animal product and you're producing chickens and ducks and everything. I was shocked to find out that the bald eagles now return to your farm.
They returned with a vengeance. And in fact, they were causing great economic damage until a brilliant poultry manager that I had hired figured out how to manage them. But he did, and now we enjoy having them again. But there was a while there they were economically unaffordable. But the way we use guardian dogs can be used to deter eagle losses. And I want to thank you. You just asked people to support me, and I appreciate you saying that. But my request would be support someone, hopefully in your trade territory, that's trying to farm in a way that's good for the land and the animals and the local economic community. I mean, I appreciate all the business I can get. We ship to 48 states. I appreciate it. But I don't want to ship to 48 states. I really want to sell my production more locally, Georgia, Florida, Alabama kind of a deal. But in the meantime, I'll sell to anybody that wants to buy. But what I urge people to do is look for a farmer in your trade territory that's farming properly, or someone who's willing to farm properly, and support them.
Support the local farmers. And you're even bringing back the community, because I know the small towns are just getting destroyed.
That has been a very pleasant aspect of what we do. When I made the abrupt change from being a very monocultural industrial commodity cattleman to doing what we do now, I did it for the land and the animals. That was the reason. I didn't do it for the consumers. God bless my consumers. I couldn't be in business without them, but I didn't do it for them. I didn't do it for the local community. I didn't do it for a number of entities that I think we benefited. I did it for the land and the animals. And the first outside beneficiary I noticed was the community. My little town, Bluffton, peaked in population in 1900. And it was declining ever since until this last 10 years or so. But I never thought I could do anything to affect that, to change it. It was just a way of life. The town is shrinking. My dad knew it. He's been dead for a while. But when I can remember I had a salesman visiting me, and I met him here in Bluffton in town. I'm sitting in the middle of town right now. And we had a little conversation, and he said, "This is a nice little town." And when he did, I leaned into him waiting for the punchline, and there wasn't one. He meant it. He thought it was a nice little town. And for the first time, I looked and said, "This is nice." And it had started improving because we had brought people in. I've got 170 people on the payroll. My payroll is $100,000 every single Friday, 52 times a year. And this is the only place you can get, you got to go 15 miles from Bluffton to get gas or hamburger. So we wind up generating a comparatively very nice little economy. And the town is nice. I'm very proud of Bluffton. I invite people to come see it. We built a store and lodging and a restaurant, and we've bought just about every house that's changed hands here in the last 20 years and put employees on them. And it was about the land and the animals, but it has become equally about the community.
When people look at the big picture, there's an old saying that in Chinese culture, that decisions are best if you're thinking 7 generations down the road. These people in chemical farming they're destroying the soil. They're producing an unhealthy product. And what they don't see in the concentrated animal feeding, pens where these animals are just being tortured, they don't see the thousands of acres of soy and corn that are growing there. I mean, you could get those animals out in the fields and bring the soil back, and they could be grazing. It's not just that one torture facility where they're raising these sick animals.
Well, I've not heard the Chinese proverb that you mentioned, but it resonates with me. We have bought land. I inherited a very nice farm, and then I bought more land than I inherited since then. And land is very hard to buy because it is a non-depreciating asset. There aren't many. Precious metals, I guess, gems, maybe art. I don't know about art, but then land. These are non-depreciating assets. They last forever. But when you buy them, you got to go to the bank and borrow the money and pay it back in 15 years. So it's very hard to buy land, but that's what we do because we revere the land. It's something that I'm the fourth generation on the farm. I've got 2 adult daughters and their spouses on the farm now. I got 7 grandchildren. They're babies, but hopefully, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them will come back. And it's the land is just so important. And I don't think in particularly modern Western economics, we have the appreciation for the non-depreciating asset.
Oh my gosh. You're thinking long term. You're thinking multiple generations, and you do take care of the land. I mean, this earth was given to us. And I tell my patients, I said, look, the world was made for you and you were made for the world. You just got to take care of it. And you're taking that to heart, brother.
It's incredible the harm that we do to the earth. And technology has allowed us to become so powerful that we can do this harm. Until we had internal combustion engines and chemistry and biodynamics, all these things that we have, we were incapable of inflicting the planetary damage that we've been able to inflict for the last, I'm gonna say 50 or 100 years, but really 50 years is when we're doing incredible damage. Now, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It'll correct itself. But I'm not sure what's going to happen to us between now and then.
Yeah, we need a heck of a lot more Will Harrises, to take charge and understand that the long-term benefits of working within nature's harmony. Because I mean, it's an ecosystem. I'm telling everyone, look, your body's an ecosystem. You've got to build the gut. You've got to move the joints every day. And you've got to build the soil. You've got to work that tissue and the fungus and the animals. They all live in harmony. And you're finding that harmony. Goodness gracious.
I think I mentioned it briefly, but for the last 100 years, we've been living on all that coal and oil and natural gas that we built up in the land in the era of the dinosaur. In the era of the dinosaur, the ecosystem was booming. It was generating a tremendous return, and that return manifested itself as coal and oil and natural gas that wound up under the soil. And we've found ways in the last 100 plus years to tap into that. And it's like living on credit. We're living on the bounty of nature that was thousands, millions of years ago. And that's you can't live on credit in perpetuity.
I love the solar panels you got on the farm and the goats weeding it underneath. I mean, no power tools, no anything being used. It's just you're just gathering that sunlight that the plants use. You're turning into electricity. Plants are turning it into the animals. I mean, it's you're harnessed in nature's bounty.
Yeah, we've got about 3,000 sheep that are grazing under a couple thousand acres of solar panels. Those panels don't own, I do not own those panels. A solar company, Silicon Ranch, owns the panels, but they pay me to control the vegetation, and we do it with the great sheep grazing. In addition, we're about to spend $2.5 million here on this farm putting in solar panels to power my meat processing plants. And they're going to be high enough that cattle can graze under them. So we're really excited about that.
Wow, that's spectacular. Now, what advice would you have for? Because I've got a lot of friends, okay, that living in North Dakota, South Dakota. They're farmers. They're the monocrop. And the government subsidy it's like a golden pair of handcuffs. You know, you can't stop. You can't do anything. You can't change. How could they turn it around? Because you did.
We did, but had I not inherited a paid for farm, I probably would not have been able to do that. So the answer to the question is, how do you do it? Is you find a producer somewhere in your ecosystem. You know, don't go 1,000 miles away. We have an intern program. We have interns that come here from all over the world, but I recommend them go to a farm that's near where they want to farm. You know, where the systems of nature are operating similarly to where you're going to farm. But go somewhere and learn. I wish I would have saved myself a fortune if I could have gone somewhere and worked for somebody for a year or two without having to make the investments myself. We've got an intern program. We bring interns in for 3 months, 4 times a year, six at the time, so about 24 a year. And they learn a lot. They don't learn enough to go home and start farming in 3 months, but they learn a lot. A lot of those guys and gals we wound up hiring, and they stay here and work here for a year or 2 or 3. And then they probably could go somewhere and start farming. A lot of times they go on to another internship program, which is also fine, you know, to expose yourself to as much as possible. But an option that's available today that was not available when I was doing it 25 years ago are these intern programs, and there are a number of good ones across the country. Gabe Brown is you in North Carolina, North Dakota. Gabe Brown is in Bismarck, North Dakota. Now they do an excellent job up there. I've been to his farm.
Very cool. Very cool. You are definitely the revolutionary. The only way is to work within the design of the earth. And you're doing a heck of a job. And all that whole carbon sequestration, we need carbon for the plants. Yeah, the plants thrive on higher carbon.
Yeah, we do. I think I mentioned you, the carbon in my land has gone from 0.5% to 5.5% in 20 years. And, 1% organic matter in the soil will absorb about an inch of water, inch of rainfall. So if you've got 5.5% organic matter like we do, we can absorb a 5.5-inch rainfall. My land used to be a 1/2 inch. So any rain we got over 1/2 inch just ran off and probably did more damage than it did good. So, improving a farming ecosystem is very, very complex, involves a lot of different components in terms of plants and animals and microbes. And I've been doing it a long time. I learn every day. And certainly these people that come in on our intern programs. We also have a nonprofit called CFAR, Center for Agricultural Resilience. And we have 2 or 3 day schools for farmers or farmer wannabes or foodies who are interested in farming. And I think that's been very beneficial for a lot of people.
Brother, we're going to have links to everything we can down there. I mean, we're going to be just getting this out there because we have to. I mean, every patient that I get, and I get people from all around the world, I get people from the middle states. Okay, farming communities, every one of them has allergies, asthma, bowel disorders, and this is in like 8 and 10-year-old kids. So we're literally losing a generation, and that is not healthy. You take care of the land, you take care of the animals, and that takes care of us. It's bottom line. Yeah, what we're doing now in the majority is harming us in the long run.
Well, we embraced. There were reasons for that we embraced monocultural production. I mean, it's simpler. It's not nearly as much complexity to it. And I went to the University of Georgia and I studied soils under a PhD soils professor that knew all there was to know about soils. He didn't know much about plants. And I, and I studied plant pathology under a guy that knew all there was to know about plant diseases. He didn't necessarily know about ruminant nutrition, animal husbandry. And I can just go down the list. The professors that taught me were brilliant people, smart people, all respect, but they were experts in a very narrow field. And that's like watching a ball game through a board missing in the fence. You can just see one little part of the game versus being able to see the whole transaction. And that's more what we do, far more of a generalist and far less a specialist.
That's brilliant. That's the exact same thing going on in healthcare. You got these experts in disease, they suck at health. They're not going to tell you how to regenerate your body or how to how to maximize your tissue production. And
I don't have many specialists come here to visit me on the farm anymore because I've got such a bad reputation. And I got the bad reputation when I was making the transition. I would have specialists down, and I came to take a little delight in taking the specialist to the pasture and showing them a problem and asking what he thought was the problem here. And if they were a soil scientist, it would be fertilization. If they were a disease specialist, it would be some problem with the plant. And whatever their specialty was would dictate or determine how they would diagnose the problem. And it it was funny to me at the time. It's not funny anymore. It's tragic.
The biggest, they say the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions. And one of the things that medical doctors can't answer, and it sounds like the soils experts and plant experts can't answer, what caused it? And then if they go in, they say, well, ultimately the plant wasn't healthy. That's why it got the disease. The soil is missing its microbial life. That's why it needs more fertilizer instead of creating the own life inside. I had no idea that farming correlated with the insanity medical system that we have.
It's interesting. This is the second time today I've had this discussion about the similarity between human health and farm health. And the same as the other guy was a medical doctor, and he had the same observations. But it's just what we've done. It's just a direction that education has gone in. It's a direction that industrialization has gone in. It's the direction that the commoditization has gone in, and it's just too many forces moving, our culture to where it is.
Yep. A sick care society and eating food that you're not designed to eat. And raising animals in a tortured facility instead of healthy. You take care of everything. Take care of your body. Take care of the land. Gosh, the pendulum is definitely going to be swinging back to where we're in harmony with our environment, harmony with the ecosystems for sure.
Well, I hope so. We, in so many operations, waste disposal is such a problem. And waste disposal is not a problem here. The manure is dropped onto the soil where it's immediately available to insects and microbes, and it's broken down into plant food. I have a slaughter plant. It slaughters two actually, one for red meat, one for poultry. We slaughter animals 5 days a week. We generate about 9 tons of what's called packing plant waste 5 days a week. 9 tons, 5 days a week. And that it would be eviscerate, non-marketable bones, feathers, heads, etc. It's just really ugly. It's an ugly 9 tons of goo that we haul every day to my composting operation. And we compost it there. We mix it with wood chips or peanut shells or whatever carbaceous material is available to me. So you got a nitrogenous material, packing plant waste, and a carbaceous material, the plant waste, hulls or bark or leaves. And we compost it, mix it together, and we record the temperature for 60 days. By then it's composted. We let it sit a year so it'll become less bacterial and more fungal. Then we spread it on the land. And it's just amazing what it does for the land. I just feel so blessed to have that opportunity to be part of that cycle.
Fantastic. None of this landfill stuff. You're putting that energy back into the soil.
Very little stuff gets hauled off this farm. It's all scrap metal. We sell to the scrap metal people, but most of the stuff we regenerated here.
Thank God. Brother, you're making a difference. You really, really are. You are the future. It's something you got to go back to the past, the animal husbandry and taking care of the soil to actually be more advanced.
Pendulum swing, don't they?
They sure as heck do. And I think you're pushing that pendulum back to normal and common sense, where you're getting healthy animals, healthy product, and you're thinking, because profitability, if people eat your product, they're not going to have the diseases that if they were eating, some hormone-laden, glyphosate-soaked, bread that's going to destroy their gastrointestinal tract.
Well, that's your job, is to tell that side of the story. I hope it's true. I believe it's true, but I'm tempted to talk about things I don't know about. What I know about is the land, the animals, and the local rural community. So that's what I hold my comments to. And then there are those of you that know about the impact on health and safety and nutrition and those other very important aspects of life. But I sound stupid when I'm talking about that because that's not my field.
I guarantee you, your grandma had the same intellect, where she said, Will, what you eat, it becomes you. My mom said the same thing. And that's why you pray over the food, and, hopefully you're getting good quality food, because you're going to need a good quality body. Brother, this has been enlightening. Okay. And I know when this is posted, there's going to be a whole bunch of links down below. You got to follow Will Harris. And also, I guess you're an affiliate of ours too. So you get $20 off of anything you order. Do you have any, I'm 100% into no drug surgery, if they're necessary, if they're needed, but your body is designed to regenerate. So I'm in regenerative health. You're in regenerative farming. What final words can you do to inspire people?
I'll shamelessly mention that we have a book out. It's called A Bold Return to Giving a Damn.
I like that.
And it's about the things that you and I have discussed today.
Buddy, I'm going to get that book. Okay. I'm a big reader.
Well, Well, that's the only book I've ever written, and I can assure you there won't be a volume two. It took me 70 years to get that one done, and I won't last another 70 years.
We're supposed to go to 120, and I think you're going to make it.
We'll see.
God, I hope so. Brother, this has been enlightening and inspiring too. I've got, 18 acres of dirt, squirrels, and weeds. And it's just, I'm excited to bring the soil back.
I tell you, you can do a lot on 18 acres of land. It's just incredible what can be done.
God bless you, brother. Thank you. And man, stay healthy and keep spreading the word. You're going to make a difference.
Today. I appreciate it.
God bless you, brother.